Hello brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me for part 9 of my Legend of Zelda Link to the Past series. This video is going to be a little bit longer than the last few have because I have to do a little bit of screwing around at the beginning to get the tempered sword as well as get some fairies for the upcoming dungeon, because the Ice Palace is actually one of the more difficult dungeons in the game, and it's actually kind of a maze normally, but I have a trick up my sleeve to help make it a lot quicker, courtesy of the speedrunning community as usual. But first things first, we're going to bring this guy back to his brother so he can get me a better sword. Once you return him to his smith brother, they will temper your sword, making it a significantly better weapon. I think it does double damage. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's double damage, which is awesome. So we can get that done. Okay, so we just let him go to his brother, and then we leave this place and go back in. Alright, now we talk to this guy. Yes, temper the sword, please. This will make bosses significantly easier going forward, or at least compared to what it would be like if you didn't have the tempered sword. The Master Sword starts to do very little damage to these upcoming bosses, so the tempered sword is pretty much mandatory. And they should be done. Excellent. The sword is stronger, and it is red, which means it's full of fire and heat, which is kind of a ridiculous thing to think about, but let's just not think about it. So, the next thing we should do is we should go get those fairies, because Ice Dungeon is very difficult. The enemies start to hit you for between 2 and 4 damage, depending on which enemies you're talking about. So you could die very quickly. For example, if I can only take 2 hits from an enemy, that does 4 damage right now. So let's go get us some fairies. Luckily, there are some just right up here under this rock. Who just aggroed? I heard someone aggro. Here. Perfect. And you as well. Perfect. Now let's get you out of here. Another heart piece. That's excellent. I think the easiest way to get to the next dungeon is actually in the light world. So we'll just teleport here and use the flute, because the flute can take you to the little island that you need to be. Perfect. And it's down here in the bottom right corner. You can just walk a little bit to the left and then jump into the water and swim right to the island. Let's go. That's so close, that little energy beam. And this will take you right to the front of the Ice Palace, which is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest dungeon to run casually, because the enemies start to get really strong here, but you still don't have your first upgraded suit. Like you get the red mail from this dungeon specifically, but we actually won't be getting that because we have a trick that allows me to skip the actual master key as well as any master key doors and the treasure, and that'll shave a ton of time off this dungeon, because this dungeon is really long and tedious, and it's pretty much just a lot of backtracking is the worst part about it. It's not like there's actually original content or just like one challenge after another. It pretty much just gets you to a certain point and then tells you to go all the way back around, which is pretty troll. I don't need to kill any of those guys, actually. I don't know what I was doing there. So a way to minimize the downtime is you can use a bomb jump in this dungeon, and that will help significantly. Okay, and you will see that in just a second. The bomb jump's actually pretty hard. It relies on, I think, a trick that is only like 3 pixels, has only 3 pixels of lenience. So you can stand on one of 3 pixels and it'll work, but otherwise you're going to end up failing it and just falling into the hole, which is obviously not optimal. There's also a trick here that I've not really practiced enough, so I can't really do it. No, okay, I screwed it up again. Damn. And how come that guy didn't die? I don't get it. Okay, so we'll see. I took a lot more damage here than I wanted to, and I didn't do any damage to those guys. Get out of here. There we go. Wow, there's a lot of lag when these guys are on the screen. So I have to I should have practiced killing those guys, because that's really slow and tedious. Boring to watch as well. This room is also very hard to deal with because the conveyor belt kind of just pulls you around. But luckily you can kind of use the hook shot to stop yourself from moving, because from whatever reason the hook shot kind of puts you into like a stasis and you don't move when you use it. Okay, yeah, I have to trigger this here thing. There we go. So this is where you would normally have to keep these red blocks. You have to keep them down, but in order to make this much easier, you can just skip them by doing this bomb jump. Now this bomb jump, like I said before, is actually pretty difficult. And I only have a half a heart, which means I'm gonna have to use a fairy. Hopefully she doesn't take off on me. Okay, there we go. The bomb jump does hurt yourself, unfortunately. Now I was able to do this pretty successfully in when I practiced it, but of course now that I'm live, I'm just gonna keep falling down this hole, because that's Murphy's Law. There we go. Took a few tries, but that's all you can do. Okay, let's move on. I would hope to get a few hearts between now and the boss, though, because the boss does hit you pretty hard. Okay, only rupees. That's not really important. Let's see if we can get these guys in one shot. Nah, damn. There is a way that you can kill those in one rotation, but it's not the easiest. Okay. Move out of the way, Mr. Spike. And this room is really annoying too. So I'm gonna get into this corner and wait for it to spin past. The ice rooms are really hard to navigate. The physics is super weird. And you'll see here, normally you could just fall into the hole to the left there and get the treasure chest, but we actually have no need for it in this run. Because normally this blue block you see right here would be pushed down, but because we did the bomb jump earlier, these blocks are already pushed down. Normally they would be up and they'd prevent you from pushing this here block, and you'd have to go all the way around. But in this case, we already have it done, so we don't need to. We can skip a large portion of the dungeon, which makes this a lot more convenient. I don't want to deal with that guy because he's just full of lag. Okay, so do I have full magic? I don't know if I have full magic. You need full magic to enter the next boss, though, so I have to make sure that I do have it. Yeah. I'm gonna check these things first. Ow, I did not know there was enemies underneath that. Yeah, super annoying. I did get a heart piece back, though, so it's not terrible, but a little unexpected. Arrows and a bomb. That's not good. Does this pull out to anything? That just lets me escape. What about you? Nothing. Okay, so I'm gonna have to look around for a little bit of magic, because I don't know if I have exactly a full meter, and without a full meter it's insanely risky to go in to the next boss. Actually, that'll do perfect. Thank you, little red jelly. Now let's see if I can not die against this boss, because where I don't have the red mail that you're supposed to get from this dungeon, this boss hits very hard. And I think he does 3 hearts of damage per hit, which obviously is a lot more than I can take right now. Dodge that. Okay. So let's try not to get boxed in. Ah, shit. Okay, there we go. It's 1 hit, and I think it took 3 hearts. So I have to be super careful, because dying here is really easy. Watch out for those projectiles. Try not to let them box you in is the key. Because if you get surrounded by them, they are very hard to dodge. Like what's happening right now. Come on. Okay, 1 left. There we go. Excellent. That's a really risky boss. Like, it seems pretty easy, but it's also very easy to die if you make any mistakes. So, that was pretty good. Luckily, the fairy ended up saving me. I'm super glad I went back to get those 2 fairies. This dungeon is a lot harder than I remember it being, especially considering that I did use the bomb jump to skip a large portion of it. Alright, another one trapped in the clutches. Escaping from the clutches, of course. Controlled mysterious powers. But the 7 wise men had sealed him away. They do not possess that strong power anymore. Our powers will increase if we mix the courage of the knights with the wisdom of the wise men. Only a short time remains. Alright, so we're getting pretty close to the end of this game. Actually, I think there's only 2 more dungeons left. And then the big fights. So, this series is quickly coming to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed, though. This dungeon was one of the hardest in the game, I remember when I was younger. So, I'm glad I was able to make it through in one shot. But thanks for watching, guys, and have a good night.